Funny, but even though he should be the big bad, season 1 is really owned by his wife Victoria. She is a much more compelling villain. Just because she is showing real remorse and regret. You can see it best in the flashbacks about that organization for the victims of Flight 197. Conrad just likes the idea because it is good for appearances and reputation. Yet Victoria made it because of her bad conscience and the feeling they should help these people.
I lost both my sons and my husband on that plane. I am determined to do something positive with my family's legacy.
We have to help her. We have to help all of them. The world doesn't know what happened, and I cannot live with this guilt anymore.
Endowing a charity could serve to improve the company's public image.
So there is a fundamental difference between Conrad and his wife. He is doing all the bad things he does because he can. And he likes to show he is more powerful and superior to other people.
I was in league with a confederacy of global terrorists who tried to bring me down, but I'm still here. I'm the last man standing for a reason. And if you even think about crossing me, I will erase you as I have so many others.
Enjoys having the upper hand and holding one's future and life in his hands. Victoria is not less aggressive, but her motives are defensive. She just wants to maintain her life and protect her family. And while she has a very much elaborate backstory, almost as detailed as Amanda Clarke, Conrad's backstory is very thin for a major character, only with the short appearance of his father Edward Grayson in season 1.
You did when you taught me that perception is reality. All due respect, you might have brought the Grayson name to the company, but I brought the global.
And later with the flashbacks in season 4, we get to know more about Conrad's past and his worldview.
Andrew is a fraternity brother, which might as well be blood.
He took advantage of her dad and bragged about it later. I have to testify. Why is my future more important than hers?
I once asked myself the same question.
No, I'm here to warn you, son. Siding with that girl, wronged as she may be, sends a message to your peers. These are the same people who may one day hold your future in their hands. Now, you do this today, and they will turn their backs on you. Luckily, we were both born with a great advantage. Our family legacy. I mean, do you really want to throw that precious gift away on this? Ask yourself, is this the cause you want to risk everything on?
As stereotyped as Conrad's character was structured, his father Edward is worse. His short appearance in one episode gives him the time to undermine Charlotte's progress in getting clean and fighting her demons with the help of a professional therapist.
If you were to tell a stranger that your mother slept with the terrorists, and then that stranger decided to share that information, what do you think would happen to the family's reputation? When the Grayson name loses value, so does the company. Are you willing to gamble away your future for something like that?
Giving bad advice to his grandson Daniel and awaken his ambition to take over Grayson Global.
So your job is to convince him to keep his money put. Your name's Grayson, Daniel. The name makes a decision for you.
While throwing accusations at his son Conrad.
I shouldn't have to tell you what a negative impact a hostile divorce can have on our company's bottom line. You're on the verge of taking a wrecking ball to the Grayson name. My name. I didn't build my empire from the ground up so I could watch your domestic failures single-handedly tear it down. Then you should understand why I am suggesting that you step down as CEO of Grayson Global and we begin to groom your son to take your place.
Who clearly just acts like Edward showed him before. Clearly Conrad is modeled after the worst character traits of toxic manhood. In that flashback with Daniel we get an insight on his hubris. Conrad truly thinks because of the Grayson name his family is better than any other. And he has a serious God complex.
I once asked myself the same question. I'll tell you what your grandfather taught me. This world that we've created is made up of gods and insects. But it's not fair, but that is the reality. Don't concern yourself with the well-being of ants, son. If you can see life through that lens, your choices will become simpler, easier to make, and live with.
Which brings us to his character traits. Most obvious is his need to control his family and business partners. In the flashback with David Clarke and Bill Harmon we get to know that Conrad uses his information about Bill's insider trades to blackmail him.
What's going on, Bill?
I'm in trouble, David. I had a mole on the board of directors.
My God, Bill. Tell me you're joking.
I knew that merger was coming.
The SEC gets a hold of this, you're going to jail, Bill.
Grayson wants to cut a deal.
What kind of deal?
Any kind of deal he wants. Grayson's holding all the cards.
The same he does in his family. Everything he gets to know about Daniel's or Victoria's weaknesses and wrongdoings can be a weapon in Conrad's hands. He even uses the fact that Charlotte is not his daughter as bargain in his divorce negotiations with Victoria.
A, you accept the pittance I'm prepared to offer you in exchange for avoiding a trial. Or B, we take this to court, and it becomes common knowledge that Charlotte is the daughter of the most hated man in America, meaning you had a torrid love affair with a terrorist.
I did everything you asked for. And now you're prepared to throw your children to the wolves and leave me with nothing, all because of your wounded pride?
So he is shown as a true sociopath who does everything to please himself and secure his own surviving. The most apparent step into this character background was his murder of Pascal. As the last person who knew about the conspiracy and could spill anything to the feds, I think Conrad surely would have acted that ruthless and killed Victoria if she tried again to sell him out. In season 1 he did try to kill her along with his affair Lydia Davis. Another proof of his egomaniac and narcissistic character. Conrad needs confirmation in any possible way. In business when he is destroying one of his competitors, and in his personal life by chasing after women and acting like a real womanizer, who does not give a damn about his captures. Marriage seems to be a necessary burden to keep the wife at his side. When he talks with Daniel about marriage we get to know what a misogynist Conrad actually is. It is important for him to have a wife to keep up appearances in public, and to show off what a good man he is. So Victoria is important to him as part of the facade. Like his children, he also thinks that successful men like him and Daniel have the right, or even more the obligation, to take a mistress. She should be the woman for fun.
You see, contrary to what they say, the secret to staying happily married is secrecy. Do not marry your mistress. So if you get bored, switch paramours, not wives. For one thing, it's far more cost-effective. I mean, not that affairs are cheap. I spent a pretty penny on a minx from the Rainbow Room. Too many of my secretaries, and let's not forget Lydia.
What contradicts this character profile is his love for Victoria. We have several scenes in which he declares his love for her.
This has always been one of my favorite sights. You, the sunset. I love you, and I always have.
Yet he constantly betrays and tortures her.
Why don't you go and ask your artist friend? Not that I expect you'll find him. I mean, once a fraud, always a fraud. Isn't it right, Victoria?
Stay away from him!
No problem there. He's long gone. Bastard. And if I'd known you were such a masochist, I'd have volunteered to rub this salt in your wounds myself. Oh, come on. Where's the witty repartee?
If you're expecting me to reveal so much as a wince of pain at the hands of your emotional torture, you can forget it.
Color me disappointed.
So either way he is in denial about how badly he treats Victoria, or he is just not capable of true love. Yet in contrast to a real psychopath, Conrad does care for Victoria. He tries to protect her several times. In season 1 he warns her about boarding that plane.
If you board that plane, it's gonna be the last thing that you do.
Then I guess I'll see you in hell.
And conveniently lefts out the part with the bomb on board. In season 2 the whole initiative plot is just a hoax designed by him. He knew all along that neither Daniel nor Victoria were in real danger.
You knew about that bomb. You've been with the initiative all along.
There is no initiative, my dear. Unless, of course, one decides to play God. The only reason you have a life is because you're my son, and I wasn't about to let them kill you yesterday. No lives were lost, including yours. And for that, you are entirely in my debt.
In the end, he just wants to save his own skin. So his caring and soft side might as well be an act, too. He shares many similarities with Emily, 'cause she is researching her targets as well as Conrad does. Only he uses other people for this work. Yet Emily is doing all this by herself. Later only with the help of Nolan and Aidan. He is also very controlled and secretive. I think not even Victoria, who knows him best after all these years at his side, knows the real Conrad. Like any psychopath, he leaves parts of his disturbing personality to himself. He can be very cold and cruel.
But if that's the case, the next time you find yourself in need of salvation, may I suggest that you drop to your knees and you pray, because from here on your only hope will be divine intervention from the Heavenly Father himself, because your earthly father is finished with you!
And I have lost the one person who meant anything to me, who loved me.
Sarah.
Well, there's no accounting for taste.
You say one more thing about her, I beg of you. Oh, you want to take this out on me? You better think again, because I am this close to showing you what I'm truly capable of.
How he is treating his family and enemies shows his sadism and total lack of compassion. Especially in season 3, he shows a full range of exit strategies and lust for terror. I doubt that he really regrets having financed a terrorist attack.
I made a terrible, terrible mistake. You know the plane that went down, Flight 197? I'm responsible. The group that claimed responsibility for the bombing, I was laundering money for them.
In fact, I think he revels in his delusions of grandeur and power. And killing people or being responsible for their death gives you the ultimate power. Mostly they show us that Conrad is cleaning up with his killings.
Mr. Ryan, I will need assurances that she has neither the intention nor the ability to ever come after me again.
Don't worry about it. She won't.
Like any mobster, he orders a hitman to kill David so he cannot tell about the conspiracy. He takes care of Lee Moran so he cannot damage their reputation further.
This will be the second mess of yours I've had to clean up in one day.
Tell me you didn't have him killed.
If he started talking, it would have destroyed us all. I couldn't let that happen. I do what I need to do to protect the family. I always have.
And as a side effect, he is getting his son out of jail.
What's happening out there? They're saying someone hanged himself.
And confessed to killing Tyler in a suicide note. I'll get started getting your charges dropped.
In Season 2, he makes sure that Fomander will no longer be a problem, and wants to neutralize Jack because he poses a threat for his reputation and life. Finally, Pascal has to die because he is blackmailing and confronting him with their past right away.
Hey, sure, you want to go down that road? Because it goes back 20 years.
Haunted by things we did in our past. Trevor Morris, David Clarke. I want to move on. Don't you want the same?
I want what I've always wanted, to win at any cost. Or do you need me to be more specific?
Yes, I do.
You need to do the unexpected. Pascal, watch out!
So while Victoria was killing out of personal reasons and for revenge, Conrad is far less picky, and murder seems to be the easiest way to get rid of an obstacle.
Are you rehearsing the sob story you're planning on telling at your manslaughter trial?
No, my dear, I merely want you to understand how Father Paul came to be behind the wheel at the time of the accident.
And tell me the truth. What really caused the crash?
Oh, I took the turn too fast. I might have hit the clutch instead of the brake and made poor Father Paul the first victim of my Huntington's.
Unlike Victoria, he seems not to be that much burdened by the past. We only get one brief flashback in Season 1, in which he told Victoria about what he did. And I still think after his big show in Season 2 to manipulate Victoria, that he might have started his game in this moment. 'Cause after his confession, Conrad got everything he wanted. He neutralized his rival over Victoria's heart, and bound Victoria even closer to him.
Are you okay?
Of course not. What we did was despicable.
But necessary, you know that. I love you, Victoria.
I know that too. I can't bear being alone right now. You stay with me tonight.
I'd like that very much.
After Charlotte was born, it must have appeared to him that everything went back to like it should have been. Which brings us to his relationships. The most important is surely the one with his wife Victoria. She seems to be his crucial point. It is strange that she has such a big influence on him. Yet Conrad seems not to recognize it. 'Cause in true Lady Macbeth fashion, it was her idea to frame David. And while Conrad tends to solve his problems with deadly violence, Victoria has a more elegant approach. In the flashback with Mason Treadwell, we see an aggressive Conrad trying to protect his wife and family reputation. However, it is Victoria who gets far better results with bribing the journalist.
I'm here to get your side of the story.
That's the end of the interview.
But I'm going to write this story with or without your input. Feel free to sue me. My only asset is an answering machine brimming over with livid messages from my creditors. You see, I have nothing to lose, Mr. and Mrs. Grayson.
Perhaps there is an arrangement that can be made after all.
Like she did with Michelle Banks.
I imagine how difficult it must be for you to handle cases like this. They're heartbreaking. It's the job. What if you had a different kind of job? What if I offered you a private practice with a steady stream of the right kind of clients? In return, you see to it that Amanda gets the care she needs in a proper institution.
So as toxic as their relationship is, they seem a perfect team when they are actually working together. Like the perfect storm. The relationship with his children mirrors Victoria's, but in opposition. Conrad has a tense relationship with Daniel but adores his daughter Charlotte. The writers obviously have chosen this dynamic to make the revelation that Charlotte is not his biological daughter even more tragic and painful.
Do you know the name of my favorite aunt? Well, Victoria does. Weeks later, she gave birth to a baby girl. She named her Charlotte, same as my aunt. I think that she did it to send me a message that the little girl she was raising with Conrad is mine.
Conrad seems to repeat the relationship he has with his father Edward with his son Daniel. Like Conrad, nothing that Daniel does is good enough for his father, though he does everything to meet his high expectations. A pattern that mirrors Victoria's relationship with her mother.
I loved you, Mother, so much that I took the fall for the murder that you committed, hoping that one day you would love me back.
Edward Grayson has high standards and wants his son to be at least as successful as he was. But more, he wants to see his own ambitions fulfilled in the life of his son. He should have the perfect wife and family and succeed in business, of course. What makes it worse is that Daniel resembles neither his father nor his grandfather. He seems to inherit a cultural interest from his mother Victoria, who worked in an art gallery before she married Conrad.
I may not major in business. Actually, I'm taking this freshman workshop in creative writing, poetry specifically. My professor actually thinks I should consider pursuing it.
Is that Daniel's poetry? Surely it can't be that bad.
No, on the contrary. We speak in hushed voices so as not to wake our memories. The things we've done, the things we'll continue to do for fear of breaking the cycle. How fierce we were when we were young, when we were unafraid of coming unhinged.
Daniel also inherited some other weaknesses, as Conrad would name it, qualms and a bad conscience.
All part of the plan? Exactly how much blood are you two comfortable with? Because I just hit my limit.
In season 2, Conrad has to watch how Daniel is failing in dealing with the initiative. I wonder what his goal was here. With Victoria, it is clear he wanted to intimidate her to stay on his side no matter what, and make sure that she never would go to the authorities again, like she tried at the end of season 1. What did he wanted to prove with Daniel? He obviously did not plan to make a power transfer. That was his father Edward's idea. But he seems to have fun in throwing major roadblocks at his son.
I expected you to go at least a month before waving the white flag.
I'm here because I've heard rumors you stashed away a number of secret investments inside the company walls.
I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about.
That's how it's going to be, is it?
Oh, yeah, Daniel, this is pretty much exactly how it's going to be. You stole my company. If there's anything else you're after, you're just going to have to steal that, too.
Since after all he was behind the initiative all along, though it would have destroyed the surprise moment in the season 2 finale. But it would have been nice if they had planned this advanced, and showed us some hints to rediscover on second or even third watch, or at least some flashbacks given his duplicity more place. This was a huge betrayal of his family. And we only get 2 scenes with a half-hearted confession to his wife and son, with no good explanation why he kept all this a secret and tortured both this long.
There is no initiative. There never was. Simply a consortium of savvy business persons who perfected the art of profiting off other people's fear. See, when catastrophe strikes, the public spends money, lots of it. And if one were able to anticipate such disasters, they'd stand to make a fortune.
In season 3, his relationship with Daniel gets even more inconsistent. At first, Conrad seems to try to destroy his son's life because he wants to take revenge. He gave up his mistress to save his son, so Conrad seems to think he owes him something.
So do you have any idea what you cost me? Just allowed myself to believe that life could be something other than gray and cold. And I was forced to sacrifice all of it to protect you.
Yet Grayson Global is history, so he meddles into Daniel's project with Margot.
We know it was you who planted the misinformation.
Cut the crap, Dad. Only you would malign yourself just to screw me over.
I'm willing to drop my suit just as soon as you fire my son.
He's out to destroy you.
You want to get in bed with the devil?
I assume Satan will want the corner office.
Anyway, from time to time he calls for Daniel's help. For instance, after his accident with Father Paul.
Detective March says you're in the clear. Car's been demolished. Father Paul's body's been claimed by the monastery. The case is officially closed.
Well, let's toast to that. He had the good sense to help me cover it up.
And when he tries to get rid of Pascal.
I've arranged for my friend over Interpol to be standing by to extradite him back to France for Cooking Brulee's books. Besides, there's many upsides to getting rid of Pascal.
What is strange that Daniel on both occasions helps his father without asking questions.
You do realize it's a power play, son. Well, I presume you don't consider my marriage a paragon of excellence, but the thing that's kept fire lit all these years is that we know how to fight, but not surrender. Now, you go to Emily now and you are admitting defeat.
I see your point.
Good, because I won't be around to dole out these nuggets forever.
I don't want to cheat on my wife.
That's what I'm afraid of, Daniel. Do not marry your mistress. Emily is your perfect match. So if you get bored, switch paramours, not wives.
Only Charlotte seems to be on the right track in season 3. Encouraged by Jack, she finally begins to question her father's integrity and sees the truth behind his facade. In season 1 and 2, she played the game running from one parent to another when the other one deceived her.
Daddy, I can't live with her anymore.
Oh, sweetheart, come here. It's okay.
Finally, she seems to break with both of them in season 3. Thanks to Jack's influence and Emily's scheming.
Don't worry, Mom. I didn't tell them anything I learned about you.
That's not what
Save it. I'm sure this is already a pretty sad day for you since my father's case has been reopened. Undoing all that hard work you did years ago.
I hope you know how much I love you, Charlotte.
Like you love David Clarke.
Which brings us to the Porter boys. Unlike Victoria, Conrad seems not to have a problem with unsuitable partners for his children, as long as they do not marry them. With Daniel, he always wanted him to marry someone like Emily, obviously because she reminds him of Victoria. But he also encourages him to pursue an affair with Sarah.
I'm not keeping things from Emily, Dad. So I guess she knows about your little trip to the farmer's market. Just know that this is a place where you can fall without regret.
Which resembles very much his lifestyle, choosing one wife as his showpiece and having fun with other women. And he had never a problem with Declan as Charlotte's boyfriend. I do not think this was solely because he wanted to win a contest with Victoria, or because Charlotte is his favorite and he would never intentionally do something that hurt her. Although he has a good vision of his family being the better than other families, Conrad has no real class consciousness or prejudice against poor people. His father was a self-made man, and Conrad surely sees himself as hard-working man. So when he does look down at Fomander and the Porters, it is because he thinks their lives are not as important as the ones of his family. That has nothing to do with money but with power and worth in terms of importance. So as long as Declan is important for his daughter, the boy is important for him. Jack and Fomander, on the other hand, got in his way, and therefore they had to be neutralized. It really seems as if Conrad does not hate any of the Porters. It is just a question of him or them. Just like Victoria sums it up in her commentary after Fomander's death.
What about Amanda Clarke?
Poor girl. She chose the wrong enemy.
The same can be said about Pascal LeMarchal. He chose the wrong time to blackmail Conrad.
I have everything handled. There won't be any fallout. Just stay calm, and it'll all be fine.
You recorded our conversations.
About the bomb, David, every word. I control what the world hears. I control you.
In season 3, he is so much pushed against the wall that he sees no other way out than making his own hands dirty. It does not matter that his ex-wife Victoria loves this man, or maybe gives Conrad even more reason to eliminate his rival like he did it with David. It does not matter that his son Daniel is friends with Margot. And surely it does not matter that Pascal was loyal to him all those years and was his business partner. Conrad has no scruple to let him die in such a gruesome way. His survival instincts make him do terrible things and commit any crime. Everyone, including the people he loves, even his family, are expedient for Conrad. He tried to kill his wife and mistress at the end of season 1. He tells Daniel that he held his life in his hands and would be totally okay if he had to die in that explosion of Grayson Global.
The only reason you have a life is because you're my son, and I wasn't about to let them kill you yesterday.
In his outburst before Charlotte at the end of season 3, he even threatens the life of his beloved daughter.
I have the power to take you out anytime I want! And if you even think about crossing me, I will erase you as I have so many others.
Which shows us that Conrad is a true narcissist and cannot love anyone else but himself. His on and off relationship with Lydia Davis, his former secretary, shows us he uses women for his advantage. He must have done that multiple times. Cause in season 4 we get with Natalie Waters, another victim of her obsession with Conrad Grayson.
Bunny, eternally yours, Conrad.
Lydia Davis was a vile whore. Conrad Grayson loved me.
You aren't the first girl that he seduced with his estate.
Lydia portrays in season 1 and 3 the typical vengeful mistress.
Thanks for picking me up on the street corner like a prostitute.
What can I do about it?
You can write me a check, a big one.
At first she is just blackmailing Conrad and seems to hate him because he is still in love with Victoria.
How does this sound? The Graysons are incredibly powerful, Your Honor. I was intimidated into helping them frame David Clarke.
You're bluffing.
Try me.
In season 3 her love for Conrad has turned into obsession. She totally fails to see what man she actually has fallen for.
I'm not a simple man to be with, but I have a simple question. Do you love me?
Yes.
And while she and Victoria fail to take Conrad down, his worst enemy is someone he even sees not coming, Amanda Clarke. Already in the pilot they establish a great difference in Conrad's and Victoria's attitude towards Emily Thorne. While Victoria is suspicious from the start, Conrad sees no threat in Emily. He is falling for this innocent girl facade.
Lucky girl scoring that property.
Pretty one, too.
I guess that makes her doubly lucky.
I don't believe in luck.
Like Daniel, he is deceived until it is too late.
Thought I'd share a blueberry.
That's my favorite. I'll consider it.
In fact, he seems to grow more and more fond of Emily.
You are my guardian angel, Emily. Lord knows where I'd be without you. Well, You and your union have my full support, Emily.
Because I already have no family.
And I'm sure their absence is amplified. So please don't think me presumptuous when I hope that you might find me as adequate recompense.
I do, Conrad.
In season 1 and 2, they had not that much interaction. And like with Declan, he only seems to appreciate Emily because his wife Victoria is so hostile towards her.
Emily, you look stunning.
Thank you, Mr. Grayson.
Maybe he feels a bit protective cause in season 3 he instantly wants to help her with Victoria.
And perhaps he would have had some fresh insight on how to deal with Victoria.
Season 3 has the most obvious turning point in their relationship. When she is trying with the help of Father Paul Whitley to make Conrad confess his crimes.
Because I think Father Paul can do the one thing I haven't been able to. Convince Conrad to confess.
Since it is totally out of character, I liked Conrad being weak and depending on Emily at the beginning of season 3. It was funny with everything he did in mind to see how Emily is manipulating him.
And even if I did, you're Catholic. You can always repent.
How uncanny. I was just thinking about you.
Divine intervention, perhaps.
And the idea of them teaming up to destroy Daniel was intriguing.
When your paramour betrays you as Daniel will, come find me at the South Fork. I'll be running my wartime operations from there.
Too bad they did only use their balkouts as an excuse for her working together with Conrad.
You were marvelous last night, Mrs. Grayson. Until our next rendezvous.
Since she ran out of tactics she could use to take Conrad down, Emily could really try to use his weakness and soft spot for her. That might have worked better than trying to make him confess.
I realize now what Father Paul meant when he said that he'd been brought back into my life through divine intervention. I mean, he was God's vessel to show me that I'm meant to live a long and meaningful existence here on Earth.
I mean, her whole stunt with Pascal was a repetition of her previous attempt with Father Paul.
What do you want, huh?
You'll wear this wire to the microphone lodge, where I will watch your every move until you get a confession from Conrad.
How could she believe Conrad would be so stupid to confess his crimes after he had worked so hard and so long to keep them a secret? She really has underestimated his ruthlessness and survival instinct.
He just pushed to meet. I've never seen anything like it.
He's clearly willing to go to great lengths to protect himself.
We need to take him down.
I think because she was that much focused on Victoria, Emily forgot to study Conrad as detailed as she did with her.
Now, Victoria, for 3 years, I've watched and predicted her every move. I can't see it. I'm missing part of the picture.
Lucky for her, she came up with the idea of using Charlotte and in the end made him confess accidentally to the whole world.
I will erase you as I have so many others. Now, I have a press conference to cancel.
No word on how our signal was co-opted, but it seems the transmission you just saw was live from inside the Grayson house. Shocking footage shows Conrad Grayson confessing to a host of illegal activities.
I loved the moment in prison when he realized Emily was behind all of it, yet still did not know who she really is.
You did this?
Yes, in memory of David and Amanda Clarke.
Which brings us to the last point of his character study, favorite episodes and moments. In season 1 and 3, Conrad had his strongest moments. I still love the little love triangle with him, Victoria and Lydia. It is a total cliché, but they really revel in it.
When you asked me to back your testimony in David's trial, there's a reason I went along. I never gave a damn about the money. I did it to protect you.
Why?
Isn't it obvious?
Even her clothes are that much stereotyped.
I'm trying to repair the damage that my relationship with you caused our friendship. You might want to think about facilitating a detente for the two of us.
Detente. Between my mistress and my wife.
And Conrad was never more frightening than at the end of season 1 and 3.
The very same people who will stop at nothing to destroy the both of us if you decide to testify. If you board that plane, it's going to be the last thing that you do.
His outburst really scared the hell out of me.
I have the power to take you out anytime I want! Because you are going to keep your stupid and thankless mouth shut!
In season 2, Conrad had not that much big moments. I liked his childish behavior with Daniel and of course his revelation that he was behind the initiative.
I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about.
That's how it's going to be, is it?
Oh, yeah, Daniel, this is pretty much exactly how it's going to be. 5 o'clock already?
His speech and the explosion of Grayson Global and his despicable reactions afterwards was just hilarious.
We are the first responders.
Mr. Grayson, any theories as to what just happened? Do you think you were a target?
Oh, I'm not going to speculate. My focus is solely on the injured. I will say that I thank Providence that my son had the good fortune to send all of his employees home this morning. Thank you. That's all I have to say, people.
I just love the confrontation between him and Daniel when they are standing in the ruins of their fortune. For the first time Conrad looks like a real lunatic, brambling about that they would rise out of the ashes and his son has to be thankful that he did not let him die.
Money comes, money goes. We have what matters. We have our name, Daniel. We're Graysons. We stare down adversity. We rebuild, brick by brick. You and I are going to show the world that when the hour is darkest, we Graysons shine the brightest. The only reason you have a life is because you're my son, and I wasn't about to let them kill you yesterday.
This is what you call mitigating damage. If you lost your damn mind.
Compared to the initiative's previous acts of terror, this was a triumph!
No lives were lost, including yours. And for that, you are entirely in my debt.
At the beginning of season 3, it was interesting seeing him weak and in need of help. Emily really made us believe it could work, making him believe he would be dying soon. The twist with him killing Father Paul by car accident was great.
And tell me the truth. What really caused the crash? Oh, I took the turn too fast. I might have hit the clutch instead of the brake and made poor Father Paul the first victim of my Huntington's.
Considering his murder of Pascal masked as an accident as well.
Why aren't you arresting him?
For what, my dear? As I was telling the detective. I tried to warn him, but it was too late.
You can't believe a word he says.
The pilot corroborates his story.
It's a damn tragedy.
That's because Conrad caused the accident. I don't think he ever intended to confess, and he made damn sure that Father Paul didn't either.
Yeah, I don't know, Ems. I mean, murder by auto accident? Conrad is pretty psychotic, but why would he risk his own life?
His rivalry with Pascal LeMarchal was not that much fun. Especially on first watch, it was kind of nerving that Conrad was always one step ahead of Emily and Pascal.
Surprised? Surely you must know I keep track of all the pieces on the board. It's what you want. Pascal LeMarchal. I'm afraid Pascal has already paid a visit to Mr. Czerny.
But therefore I enjoyed his arrest and imprisonment more.
Bye, Conrad. Do rot in hell.
Major spoiler alert for season 3. As bad as it sounds, but the best was of course his last scene getting killed by David Clarke. This whole sequence just set us on a rollercoaster of emotions. First righteous anger that he actually managed to break out of prison and would go unpunished, after all of Emily's hard work to finally take him down. Then the surprise element of David revealing himself to him and the audience.
No, it can't be David.
And of course this almost poetic scene of his death. I also loved his humor in season 3.
Why didn't you take care of Pascal yourself?
Why don't you get my hands dirty when driving?
Unless you want to flee and live your life as a woman.
You're certainly acting like one.
Henry Czerny, who portrayed Conrad, was really in best form in his last season.
So why don't you think about it this way? You see, by turning myself in, I'm not only clearing his name for Charlotte, but for you as well, my dear. So that you can finally have your true love back. Dead as he may be.
Nice was that they brought him back for flashbacks. I think besides Fomander and the Clarke family, they never brought anyone from the Graysons back in flashback. What do you think about Conrad? One-dimensional villain or intriguing character with flaws? Did he get what he deserved, or would you like to have him stick around for the last season? What do you think about his feelings for Victoria and how he treats his children? Let me know in the comments.